All right, you guys. So I'm gonna be doing another anime. So spoiler warning. Just letting you guys now, letting you guys know now that we're doing another chapter review. So you've been warned. Now I'm now starting to do Attack on Titan mainly because it is my favorite anime and manga of all time right now. And it's just godly in essence. But point being is, this is chapter 121, and it picks up immediately with just simply them still visiting through Aaron's father's Grisha's memories, and Zeke still doing his usual stuff, saying, why did you betray me, and how Aaron wasn't brainwashed by his father the same way Zeke was. So still on about his usual stuff. Now they go through that little bit of dialogue and talk a little bit, and it immediately moves over to the scenery where basically, or Grisha's memories, where Aaron and Mikasa, or Aaron went to go rescue Mikasa from the bandits and basically killed all three of them. And it picks up there with Grisha being just having a look of utter surprise on his face, thinking, like these kids, I think at the time were only around 9, 10 years old and have killed these three grown men. And he just has this look of utter shock with Zeke just standing in the background, like, okay. Like, Zeke is weak. Oh my goodness, man. So, after all this going on, the most notable thing about it, like I said, they still stand there and they're talking and they're actually trying to figure out uh, how Grisha is actually kind of a bit of a hero, but not really, because it's all because of this brainwashing thing that is actually giving Zeke some form of purpose in the first place. And it's making, but at the same time, it's also making Zeke a slave to his father, as Aaron points out, who is now dead. So it's one of those things where it kind of is like Zeke's whole purpose, as much as he tries to sit there and hate his father, it's also because of his father that Zeke is doing some of the stuff that he's doing in the first place. One of the most notable things that we get to see, though, is Zeke tries to speak to Aaron, and Aaron is just staring at his younger self, looking at Mikasa. So we might actually kind of get that feeling that, yeah, Aaron really has been putting up a front, and he truly does love and care for Mikasa. At least it kind of gives you that slight impression at the least. Now, from there, it pretty much just transitioned to them kind of going through just small memories, just a little panel expressing basically the reason why Zeke still has not activated the his euthanasia. Bottom line is, it goes over, he's trying to tell Aaron, like, the reason why I'm not really doing it yet and all this other stuff, even though I can whenever I want to, is because I want to save you the same way that he was saved. So I kind of don't really buy that. It's weird to me. I feel like if you really want to get the plan going, you should do it and then come back to it later. But it constantly switches over, and that's what the whole chapter, at least for the past 2 or 3, has been doing, is it switches over between each and every memory. Now, the memory that we move to next is at the beginning of the anime and it's discussing how Aaron wants to be a scout, and we get to see how Grisha is looking out, and he's saying, like, when I get back, I'll show you what's in the basement. But he's looking at a older Aaron, and the look on his face is what's really amazing, because he looks kind of afraid, and it's kind of weird. Like, he's like, is that really you? You know what I'm saying? So we switch over from there, and it shows us the memory of him going into and discovering the royal family staying underneath the church. And he's trying to beg and plead with them to actually stop and deal with the Titans that are invading the wall before all the Eldians and all the people that are killed. But of course, the Eldians and stuff, or the royal family, basically say, like, we don't care. You know what I'm saying? This is how we're going to atone for our sins. And no matter what Grisha tries to say, like, you know what I'm saying, you can't kill people if they don't really know what they're dying for. They don't really care. They're just saying, well, this is how we're going to atone. And in that moment, it's like it just utterly pisses Aaron off. And he just makes this, like, disgusted face. Like, he's just like, oh, hell no. You know what I mean? Like, he is upset. And he goes back, like I said, because Zeke is still trying to do his persuasion thing. And he tells him, like, yeah, no matter what you tell me, you know what I'm saying? No matter what you do, what you say, I will not be changed. You know what I'm saying? This is the way I want to be. Nothing is going to change. And like I said, Zeke kind of takes that and he's like, well, that's interesting. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so you basically saying no matter what I do, no matter what father has done, all that stuff, you just will not be moved. And it's still hitting on the notion of Eren trying to say, like, he is who he is in the discussion. He's not going to be brainwashing. He's not going to do just what Zeke wants. He's going to do what Eren wants. And we kind of get a glimpse of that when Grisha is explaining that the whole point of the Attack Titan is that it has the ability to basically have inherent memories of the future. So it basically has the ability to see the future because it has, since every single user can see the future members of the future inheritors' memories, it gives them knowledge of what's going to happen in the future. And with that knowledge, it surprises everyone because he also tries to explain to them that they also don't have any free rule because of the king's rule. Basically, it states like it's revoking of war. So as he's explaining that, like I said, the royal family is basically gathering their own information because it seems like they don't even have everything put together. But when Grisha has had enough and he's like, well, I'm going to put an end to the family, he actually collapses and sits on the knees, realizing that he isn't meant to kill people. He doesn't really want to kill the children and all that stuff. He's a doctor. But we get the most interesting moment because Eren, like, he stands over his father and he's like, no. Remember what your purpose is. He's standing there and he's saying, remember about how your sister who was killed, about how your wife who was murdered turned into a Titan. You know what I'm saying? Like, remember all this stuff and stand up and fight. And it just utterly baffles me because that means, like I said, that is such a weird thing to show the reader. And by doing that, it allows for him to finally go through with it. He attacks and he murders the entire family. And after everything is said and done, like I said, he is actually devastated. Like, he resurfaces and he sits there and he's just saying, like, Eren, I hope you're happy. Are you finally satisfied? In other words, he knew, like, that moment when Eren actually spoke with him actually happened. Grisha in the past heard Eren speak to him. And that is something I'm going to have to touch on at the end of the video. But it's something I don't think a lot of people notice. But he sits there and he tells Zeke, because he's actually able to speak to Zeke, and he says, Zeke, your plan isn't going to come to fruition. It's actually going to be Eren's. And Zeke is just like, wait, what are you talking about? And literally, he gets up and he actually physically touches Zeke. He gets up and he hugs him, and as he apologizes, he sits there and he says, Zeke, I love you. You know what I'm saying? I wish we would have had more time together. And it seems like such a loving moment because it actually, what we actually come to figure out, like, Zeke isn't the brainwashed problem child as we actually would have thought he was. You know what I'm saying? So far it's been mainly Zeke being the mastermind, trying to actually manipulate everything behind the scene. But it's not, everything isn't what it always appears to be. And it seems like we were basically misled that Zeke isn't as in control as we thought he was. Which is why Grisha says, like, your plan isn't going to come to fruition. He's seen the future. He's seen Eren's memories. And he knows exactly what's going to happen. So, because he knows this, he sits there after hugging Zeke and he says to him, Zeke, stop Eren. And through the panel, we get to see Eren basically during the moment when Historia became queen and he touched and kissed her on the hand. Eren, the reason why Eren acted that way, we thought he acted that way because he gained memories of what his father did. But in fact, Eren, that's only like the half truth. Eren actually saw more than what we thought. Eren actually saw this vision that is actually going to pass, and so has Grisha. So it's like they both seen like the near coming future, and that is why Eren is actually doing the stuff that he's actually doing. And and he knows that. The fact that Eren knows this because he tells Zeke, like, after they make it out, he's like, yeah, you didn't really get to see all the stuff that we were supposed to see. Eren has been in control. Eren was calm this entire time. And Zeke even tells him, he's like, You know what I'm saying? That would mean that you, Eren, have been manipulating stuff. You manipulate Grisha by showing him stuff that, showing him memories of the future that you wanted him to see. So Eren has been pulling strings this entire time. And he explains to Zeke, he was like, exactly. But he said that it happened 4 years ago. In other words, when, like I said, when Eren kissed Historia's hand and came in contact with her, because Historia is of the royal family, Eren immediately knew what happened. And it was at basically 4 years ago. It was after that battle that he knew exactly what needed to be done. And because of this moment, like the fact that Eren has known about this and basically has been putting this plan into motion since 4 years ago, that is how we know, that is what makes Zeke basically on edge. Because as soon as Zeke understands the situation, he immediately tells Ymir to begin the euthanasia plan. So he yells out and tells Ymir, like, yeah, no. Make sure these people cannot repopulate ever again. And Eren, if you don't know, and some of the earlier chapters, it was stated that basically those who are bound in by the chains are actually, or bound by the founding titans, or people with royal blood basically that are bound by this, cannot actually do anything. They're restricted. Eren, who is also tied up at this moment, instantly realized, like, uh-oh, you know what I'm saying, it's time to really go into action. He literally loses his hand, like he goes hardcore, loses his hand, and rushes after Ymir. But the thing that's most notable is Zeke says, like, yeah, you know what I'm saying, in this world, no one is capable of stopping Ymir, like, once she moves. But one of the things that's interesting is, if you look closely, it seems like her eyes are closed. So it's like, I just want to know, like, how is Ymir actually working? Like, is she truly a slave to the system, or is it really, I don't know, like, how does she really work? But, like I said, it's weird that her eyes are closed, or that her eyes are drawn to be closed. Because originally in the other chapters, it just had that blank stare, like she didn't, you know what I'm saying, like we just couldn't see her eyes. But now it's drawn more, you know what I'm saying, more vividly. So now we're able to actually see that her eyes have actually been closed. So I wonder if, like, when she opens her eyes to go and touch the like that giant beam of, I guess, memories and light and all the stuff of the Elden people, will we see her eyes open and show that she actually has, like, the same eyes that the royal family had when they're in possession of the royal, or not royal, I'm about to say the royal titan, oh my god, of the founding titan. And so I am very curious to see how this is going to happen. Like, it has me interested. But one thing that does make me wonder is that Zeke does not have a founding titan just yet. Okay? So, just keep that in mind. So, a good thing to really ask yourself, how will Zeke actually use the power? Because think about, if Eren is still in possession of, I think, 4 of the titans, including the founding titan, then how exactly will Zeke be able to use that power? So, will the full plan actually come into motion when Eren touches Ymir, or is it already, you know what I'm saying, or as soon as Eren touches Ymir, maybe Eren has, like, some weird ability where he stops Ymir, or, like, it Zords Ymir or something like that. Like, I don't know, it's weird, but just kind of think about that in your mind and really ask yourself, like, how do you think this is going to happen in the future? What is going to happen in the next chapter or two? I'm very excited. This is the reason why it's my favorite manga. Though it can get a little confusing with all the, basically time traveling in a sense. But yeah, Eren is a G. He's a savage. Gotta respect that man. But until next time, you guys, like I said, I will be doing more. I'm probably gonna try to get into Black Clover, so be on the lookout for that. And until next time, you guys, I will see you. Peace.